Welcome to BaukLO. As you might know, BaukLO is a warm-up competition for the AusCLO competition, which is run in March of every year. It's the Australian Linguistics Olympiad. And what it does is tests your ability to solve language puzzles, linguistics puzzles. What this means is that you're given data from a language that you don't know, and you have to try and make some conclusions about that language. You have to try and work out how that language works. Now, these problems are based around broadly four themes. Sounds of language, which is called phonology, like the difference between let, lit, and lot. Morphology, which is the component parts of individual words, like impossible, where im, pos, and able all mean slightly different things. Syntax, which is the way words fit together to make a sentence, why you can say, I know why the bird sings, instead of I sings know the bird why. And then semantics, which is the study of the meanings of words, why some words mean certain things and other words mean different things. Sometimes the problems are to do with writing systems, like the Georgian example I've given you up on the language notice board, and numbers as well. And we'll be looking at some of those in this message board as well. Now, as an introduction to BaukLO, I've given you two very simple problems here which were designed by linguists in the past for these language competitions. This first one is a problem about Indonesian, designed by an American linguist called Tom McCoy. And what you have in this problem is four very simple Indonesian sentences and their English translations. This is the typical way these problems are presented, by the way, with data in one language and then the translation in English. And then you have to work out how that language works. So, you're given four sentences and four English sentences. One first thing to notice is that the word big appears in two of the English sentences. And there's a word which appears in those same Indonesian sentences. But it's not before the noun, like in English. It's right at the end. So, Indonesian might be one of these languages where the adjective comes after the noun. So the cow sees the banana big rather than the cow sees the big banana. This is actually fairly common. Talking of banana, you can look at that word now and you'll find it appears three times. Well, there's this word pisang, which appears three times as well in the Indonesian sentences. But one of the forms is the plural, bananas, and we might now try and find what's the marker for the plural in Indonesian. Well, in the sentence that matches the English sentence with bananas, that word is repeated, pisang pisang. This is actually pretty common, and you can make a hypothesis that the way of forming at least certain words plurals in Indonesian is by doubling or reduplicating, as it's called. You can check this hypothesis by looking at the other plural here, the cows, and you'll see sapi-sapi in the Indonesian. So that hypothesis was probably right. Now let's look at the word for seas. Again, this appears twice in the English sentences, and there's a word which appears twice in the Indonesian sentences, lihat. So we might think that the verb in the Indonesian sentences comes straight after the initial subject, like it does in English. Looks like that's probably the case because we've got two distinct words there that match likes and here. So we're probably okay so far. Now we look at the question, and we have to give the Indonesian for the big cat likes the dogs and the big dog likes the cats. Well, all you have to remember there is that plurals mean that a word is going to be repeated or reduplicated, and that the word for big is going to come after the noun rather than before it. So here we go. The second problem is from a language called Aragonese, which is basically one of the dialects of Spanish and was written by a linguist called Bruno Lastarina, who's Brazilian. And what you're given here is several words in Aragonese and their plurals. This is a pretty simple problem again. If you look at the words, you'll find that there are three different ways of forming the plural. One is with a Z, one is with an S. There are three words where the plural has the S on the end, and one is with ES. It's a little bit similar to English in a way, given that we can make our plurals with S, like cat, cats, dog, dogs, etc., or ES, match, matches, watch, watches. So then we have to find how to form the plurals of these four other words. This is pretty straightforward. If you look at the ones that have the Z on the end, you'll find that they end in a T. So the two words there that end in a T, of the words that are left, probably will have the Z on the end. Good so far. The ones that end in an S, there's L before the S, and the last word, the word for character, personaje, that ends in a vowel. It ends in an E, but often when things end in a vowel, that is a group on its own. The one word that ends in ES has an X on the end, peixe, as it's pronounced, the word for fish. And so the word that ends in an X over on the right there will probably have ES as well. We're left with this word for union. And even though it doesn't end in an E, because it ends in a vowel, we can make a reasonable assumption that it's going to have an S on the end as well. And in fact it does. Thanks for listening and best of luck with BaukLO 2020.